What's up, y'all? I've got some clarifications and corrections on JJK 269. As you know, it dropped last night. It was a dialogue heavy chapter, and sometimes that can be a bit rough with leaks translation. So I have since talked to a few different translators, and I think I've been able to piece together just everything that was happening there at the end. So we're going to go over it, but spoilers beware. All right, couple quick disclaimers here. The first is that we should still wait for the official and the TCB translations just to make sure that we understand everything, but I do feel like I have a pretty good grasp on this now. And second, we're picking up from like the end of the chapter, so I'm assuming you've already seen like my previous leaks video and are familiar with the gist of what happened in 269. Check it out if you haven't. But we're going to pick up from the moment where Ui is basically defending his sister after Kusakabe says that she didn't really do anything to help in the Sukuna fight. And she says, well, my life is priceless and we can't risk losing something priceless. But Ui says, hey, if not for my sister, we wouldn't have had the whole new shadow style domain thing figured out. She helped with that. Then Kusakabe says, yeah, you're right, but really that was just her taking advantage of the situation. She did that for her own benefit. Meme just laughs and says, yeah, I won't deny it. It's at this point that Hikari chimes in and basically asks what they're talking about. He says, oh yeah, is this in relation to all of those binding vows surrounding simple domain that prevent it from being taught to outsiders? How did we overcome that? Kusakabe says yes, the binding vows with simple domain are passed down through that school, and they were originally created by the inventor of simple domain in order to prevent it from being taught to curse users. They basically didn't want their enemies to have that tool in their arsenal. Meme then continues and says, but as generations and generations went on, the new shadow style lost public interest, so simple domain became a trade secret within it, and they monopolized the skill, basically gathering in their disciples and forcing them to undertake binding vows to not teach it to anyone else. Meme then remarks on just how powerful a monopoly this is because sorcerers without curse techniques really flock to the new shadow school because they need something like simple domain to operate in this world. Basically saying that these disciples would be forced to accept these binding vows because they had to be able to learn this. Nobra then says, so the binding vow is just that you can't teach this to outsiders because that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Meme says that is only one of the binding vows they have to undergo. There are actually a lot, including the fact that you cannot refuse a request from the clan head of the new Shadow School. Meaning if they tell you, hey, you have to go on this mission or you have to do this, you cannot refuse. You have to do it. But on top of that, one of the most problematic vows is one they refer to as life. And this seems like less of a vow or a technique, but more of a curse. Basically, the clan head siphons life away from the rest of the disciples. Nobra and Megami are then like, what the heck, are you serious? And Meme says, well, the issue is no one even knows who the new Shadow Style clan head is. So since we can't figure that out for sure, we don't know if this life binding vow, curse, contract, whatever you want to call it, actually exists. And if it does, we don't know how they're actually executing it. All we do know is that there sure are some ancient people in Jujutsu society who seemingly live very long lives. And even if slash when the clan head were to die, one of the disciples just becomes the new clan head. So it could be like just a continuing cycle of things. And if they don't reveal themselves, then no one knows who that new clan head is. And Kusakabe says, and that's the issue, because the clan head is the only one that can get rid of these binding vows, preventing simple domain from being taught to others. So if we can't figure out who the clan head even is, then there's going to be no way for us to get around that obstacle. And as far as I know, of all of the top students of the new Shadow School, there weren't any that knew who the clan head was. Meme says, yeah, there weren't any. Nobra's like, what? What are you getting at? And Kusakabe says, yeah, well, actually right now I'm the clan head of the new Shadow Style. And everyone is like, what? And he goes, yeah, that's why the binding vows are no longer in play, and also the life-sucking curse is no longer in play. That's why we are able to teach you guys simple domain. And that's when Meme says, but hey, don't get too crazy with getting rid of all of the rules, because one day my little brother is going to be the clan head and I'm going to use that to make a lot of money. And Uwe says, oh, you're so greedy. And she says, yeah, you know what? We're bringing Jujutsu Society into the new age. You're going to have to pay a subscription to learn the new Shadow School. It's at this point that we flash away from that conversation and go back to the scene we saw at the very beginning of the chapter, which I haven't talked about in this video, but it's Mei at like a corner candy store talking to this old woman, and she asks how much as she's like holding up a candy bar or something. And the woman goes, "How much?" And Mei says, "I'm talking about your life. How much?" The old woman then looks really shocked and is like, how did you know? How did you know I'm here? How did you know that I was the clan head? And Mei says, "I just asked somebody who knew." And the old woman says, no one could know that. Mei says, "By continually increasing the amount of your disciples, you kept consolidating power. You soon were going to rival that of the three great clans. You were planning to even take control of the headquarters and start running the entire society, weren't you?" The old woman is just sitting there stunned until something finally clicks for her, and she says Tengen, meaning that Tengen must have been the one who told Mei who she was, because Tengen, as ancient as she is, would have been one of the few people who would have remembered that old lady actually becoming clan head back whenever it happened, however many hundreds of years ago. Mei says many months and many years would have been necessary to try to see this plan through. This is a view you wanted to see no matter what, huh? Even if it meant you sucked away the life of all of your disciples. Mei says, "You know what? That is truly a great ambition, and that's something that can't be traded for money. But you know what? Something that's more important than money still must be protected with money." Just think about all of the lives that have been lost because you monopolized Simple Domain. How many sorcerers out there would have lived if they had had a chance to learn it? And right now, the Zenin family is in shambles. The Gojo and the Kamo family will probably destroy each other in this chaos, so you were just waiting for your chance to strike. But really, it's not any of that that bothers me. Above all else, you were trying to harm my little brother, and so the price for that is your life. And that's when all of the crows just kill this old woman, the new Shadow Style clan head. Now, all of this was initially really confusing because Tengen was mentioned, the new clans were mentioned, her brother was mentioned, and now this all makes way more sense. So, again, Tengen was mentioned because Tengen is the one that told Mei who the new Shadow Style clan head was. The three big clans were mentioned not because there is currently like this devious plot that Mei is enacting. No, they were mentioned in reference to what the new Shadow Style clan head was planning. They were trying to usurp power in Jujutsu Society by waiting for the three big clans to kind of crumble in the chaos that's going on right now, and by continually collecting disciples and seeing this through hundreds of years by stealing their lives. Basically, this clan head in the new Shadow Style was trying to just take over, take control, right? And Mei says, all of that isn't even really why I'm here and why I'm going to take you out. The reason I'm going to take you out is because you were going to hurt my brother. Now, what did she mean by that? Well, this new Shadow Style clan head was siphoning the life away from disciples. And Wee is a disciple of the new Shadow School. So this old lady would at some point, if not already, be stealing Wee's life. Because if you'll recall, he is and has been a disciple of the new Shadow School. His job was to learn Simple Domain in order to protect his sister, right? So he was already a part of all of these binding vows. This is also why Mei says one day he will take over the clan head spot from Kusakabe, because he's one of the disciples. Now, I guess that's probably just part of the deal Mei enacted with Kusakabe in order to help them do all of this, is that one day we will become clan head, and then, like she mentioned, she'll be able to make a lot of money from this. So to circle all the way back around, Kusakabe is right. Mei didn't help in the Sukuna fight, she just kicked back and relaxed, and the one thing she did do, help them overcome the Simple Domain binding vows, was just for her own benefit. She was saving her brother and making sure that she would make a lot of money in the future. So yeah, I hope that clears things up. This really wasn't a setup for a big clan war or a big power move by Mei, at least not in the way that a lot of people were thinking it was. And that's not to say that there still couldn't be a lot of political strife and conflict coming up in the Jujutsu world, especially, with the the Zenin clan in shambles and just Jujutsu Society in shambles. Like, I'm sure it's not going to be smooth sailing setting everything back up, but at the very least, what was happening at the end there wasn't this like big tease for like this eruption that was about to happen based on her or anyone's plans. So yeah, that's it for this one. We still got a lot to talk about with this chapter, but I wanted to go ahead and put this video out just so everyone was on the same page with what actually happened. Let me know y'all's thoughts down below, and thank you guys so much for watching.